remembering those that perished on the sinking of the RMS Titanic on April 15, 1912. The information provided was obtained and used from findagrave.com. This video contains passengers with the last name starting with K. The remaining passengers will follow shortly. Nikolai Kallio, age 17, born in Finland. He was traveling to Canada and was accompanied by 3 of his friends. They all perished in the sinking. Nikolai's parents received £50 or $76 in compensation for the loss of life. His occupation was listed as a general laborer. The next victim is Johannes Halvorsen Kalvik, age 21, born in Norway. In 1910, he and his brother built a house together, and it remains in the family. Johannes' mother passed away the year before, spurred him to move to Iowa. He was engaged to be married. Johannes perished in the sinking. The next victim is Sinai Cantor, age 33, born in Russia. He boarded the Titanic along with his wife and 3 children and were second-class passengers. His wife survived the sinking, but the 3 children and Sinai did not. However, there are no records of the children listed on Find a Grave. Sinai's body was recovered by the McKay Bennett and listed as number 283. He was buried in New York. Sinai's watch was recovered from his body and it was auctioned off in 2018 for $57,500. The next victim is H. Cantor, age unknown. There is no information on this individual. I'm leaving this lily for you. You are not forgotten. The next victim is Milan Karadzic, age 29, born in Croatia. He was married and his occupation was listed as a laborer. Milan was traveling to Ohio. His body, if recovered, was never identified. The next victim is Julius Conrad Eugene Carlson, age 33, born in Sweden. He was a third-class passenger and his body was never recovered. Julius's occupation was listed as an engineer and inventor. The Mansion House Fund paid £100 to his wife, £48 to his parents and £70 to his mother-in-law. And additional £300 were paid to his wife in damage claims. Because his parents were getting a divorce, the sum was further divided and the father got $1,966.50 and the mother got $766.50. The next victim is Nils August Carlson, age 22, born in Sweden. He was a third-class passenger and was traveling possibly to Massachusetts. Nils perished in the sinking and his body, if recovered, was never identified. The Mansion House Fund paid £48 for loss of life to his father and £75 in damage claims. The next victim is Claire Bennett Carnes, age 22, born in Pennsylvania. She had just gotten married and was returning from India after visiting family. Claire boarded the Titanic along with another female. She probably spent her final moments in the library. Claire never knew that her husband had died several days earlier from smallpox in India. She perished in the sinking. The next victim is Vasilios G. Katavilos, age 18, born in Greece. His occupation was listed as a farmer. Vasilios was a third-class passenger and was traveling to Wisconsin. He perished in the sinking and his body was recovered by the McKay Bennett and listed as number 58. Vasilios was buried at sea on April 22, 1912. The next victim is Andrew Keane, age 22, born in Ireland. He and 2 of his brothers were local sports stars. They won the championship in 1909 and 1911 for the Derry Dunnell hurling team. Andrew decided to immigrate to the United States, where his sisters resided. Andrew's father had recently passed away. He was a third-class passenger and he packed his hurling medals, a dozen of hurling sticks and a melodeon on board the Titanic. Andrew perished in the sinking and his body was never recovered. His cenotaph is located in Ireland. The next victim is Daniel Keane, age 35, born in Ireland. His occupation was listed as a tram conductor. Daniel was immigrating to the United States and was a second-class passenger. He perished in the sinking. Daniel's cenotaph is located in Ireland. The next victim is Edward Herbert Keeping, age 33, born in England. He was the valet for George and Harry Widener. Edward perished in the sinking and his body was recovered by the Mackay Bennett and was buried at sea. The next victim is James Kelly, age 19, born in Scotland. His occupation was listed as a painter and decorator. James boarded the Titanic as a third-class passenger. His body, if recovered, was never identified. James's obituary on Find a Grave belongs to a 44-year-old that also perished in the sinking. The next victim is James Kelly, age 44, born in Ireland. His occupation was listed as a farm laborer. James was a third-class passenger and he perished in the sinking. His body was recovered by the Mackay Bennett and listed as number 70. James was buried at sea on April 24, 1912. He is remembered in the Millennium Garden, also known as the Feathers, in England. James does not have a Find a Grave. His information is listed under the 19-year-old's Find a Grave. The next victim is Edward Austin Kent, age 58, born in Maine. He was a first-class passenger and his body was recovered by the Mackay Bennett and listed as number 258. Edward was buried in New York. The next victim is Frederick Roland Kenyon, age 41, born in Connecticut. He co-owned a steel mill and sold it, making a large profit, enough to retire on. He boarded the Titanic along with his wife and were first-class passengers. Frederick's wife survived the sinking, but he did not. In his will, he requested $1,000 to be used for a medallion tablet memorial to be placed in his high school, in memory of him. The bronze tablet was moved in 1950 to the library inside the high school. Also, $10,000 were to be held in a trust fund, assisting worthy poor children to complete a course in the high school. He also left $5,000 in another trust fund to the Quinnipiac Cemetery Association to care for the family plot. Frederick's cenotaph is located in Connecticut. The next victim is the Khalil family. Brother, Betros Khalil, age 24. Sister, Zahi Maria Elias Khalil, age 20. They both were born in Lebanon. The siblings boarded the Titanic and were third-class passengers. Their bodies were never recovered. The next victim is the Kiernan brothers. Brother, John Joseph Kiernan, age 26. Brother, Philip Kiernan, age 22. They both were born in Ireland. John worked for family members in a bar located in New Jersey. He returned to Ireland to bring his brother Philip back to New Jersey and was accompanied by their cousin. The brothers helped save the women around them. They gave them lifebelts and built a ladder out of chairs so that the women could climb onto the upper deck where the lifeboats were. They both perished in the sinking and their bodies, if recovered, were never identified. The next victim is Thomas Joseph Kilgannon, age 21, born in Ireland. He boarded the Titanic and was accompanied by friends. The men managed to save the two women in their party by leading them to the upper deck. Thomas took off his sweater and put it on one of the females. 9 years later, she returned to Ireland and gave the sweater to Thomas's mother. His family created a memorial to him in the form of a surviving lock of his hair, knitted into a linen garment, possibly a christening gown. It is surrounded by prayer cards and in a frame. Thomas's name was carved into the Kilgannon family's gravestone in the cemetery located in Ireland. The next victim is the Kink family. Brother, Vicens Kink, age 26. Sister, Maria Kink, age 22. They were born in Austria. Vicente's occupation was listed as a storekeeper and Maria's occupation was listed as a maid. Their mother recently passed away. The siblings boarded the Titanic along with their other brother and his wife. They were traveling to Wisconsin as third-class passengers. Vicente and Maria perished in the sinking, but their other brother survived. The other brother received 262.50 in Swiss franc along with 30 pounds on Vicente's half and an additional 262.50 Swiss franc on behalf of Maria's. The next victim is Reverend Charles Leonard Kirkland, age 71, born in Canada. He resided in Scotland and was traveling to Canada to visit his sister. Charles boarded the Titanic as a third-class passenger and was accompanied by another gentleman. He perished in the sinking and his body was never recovered. Charles's cenotaph is located in Maine. Charles was married and had 9 children. Soon after his wife passed away, he remarried a few months later. Per the newspaper clippings attached, controversy surrounded his second marriage. It states that he was 65 years old, and his new bride was 15 years old. The next victim is Herman Kleber, age 41, born in California. He was the king of hops, creating the largest hop yard. Herman worked as a hops merchant in Washington for Kleber, Wolf, and Netter. He was the hops broker, a wool merchant, a cigar store owner, and an insurance agent. Herman had homes in California, Washington, and Oregon. He was married and had 1 daughter. Herman was in Europe on business. He boarded the Titanic as a first-class passenger and his body, if recovered, was never identified. Herman's estate was valued in excess of $500,000. His brother-in-law was his will's executor. Herman is remembered on his parents' gravestone in California. The next victim is the Clayson family. Aunt, Hulda Christina Eugenia Clayson, age 36. Nephew, Klaus Albin Clayson, age 18. Niece, Gertrude Amelia Clayson, age 1. They were all born in Sweden. Hulda resided in California and her occupation was listed as a dressmaker. She traveled under her maiden name Lofqvist. They boarded the Titanic as third-class passengers. Hulda was bringing her niece and nephew to California, where their father resided. They all perished in the sinking and their bodies were never recovered. The next victim is Robert Knight, age 42, born in Ireland. He was a leading handfitter engineer for the Harland and Wolff shipyard. Robert joined the Titanic as a member of the 9-strong Guarantee Group. He perished in the sinking and his body, if recovered, was never identified. The next victim is Sodor Kolev, age 24, born in Bulgaria. He was a third-class passenger and his destination was unknown. Sodor perished in the sinking and his body, if recovered, was never identified. This gentleman is not on the Find a Grave website. Sodor's information was obtained from the Encyclopedia Titanica website. The next victim is Theodore Kreef, age unknown, born in Bulgaria. He boarded the Titanic as a third-class passenger and was traveling to Wisconsin. Theodore perished in the sinking and his body was never recovered. The next victim is Simon Kutcher, also known as Simon Lithman, age 27, born in Russia. His occupation was listed as a baker. Simon was a third-class passenger and he perished in the sinking. His body was never recovered. The next victim is Johan Henrik Johannesson Kvillner, age 31, born in Sweden. His occupation was listed as an engineer. On the night of the sinking, Johan was standing on the deck with 2 other gentlemen. They were refused lifeboats and Johan perished in the sinking. His body was recovered and listed as number 165. Johan was buried in Canada. If you like this content, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing to my channel at MeTime806. Thank you very much.